PlayStation is making big moves right now with a recent announcement confirming the PS5 and the recent departure of Sean Layden, who was the leading executive of the company. There is massive restructurings going on at the company as well, and they have decided to globalize, with a central focus being put on the US, which will be leading the charge. This has created a ton of regional issues and changes fundamentally how Sony is going to be handling their business as well as marketing their games to the world. These changes have already seen a huge reshuffling of employees, and many people have already been put out of a job in the process, but that just got a little more depressing when they decided to lay off dozens of employees the day they announced the PS5. One unfortunate ramification of the big changes going on at Sony are people becoming redundant and no longer having a purpose to serve at the company. People who work regionally are being pushed out of a job. Unfortunately, the same day that they announced the next-gen console, they also fired dozens of employees from the Sony Interactive Entertainment Europe branch. Here we're referencing an article from Video Game Chronicle that collected some of the larger details. They mentioned restructuring of the company, as we said, and specifically marketing and PR, because now they're going to have the United States leading the global marketing for the company, and that's going to be a pretty big change for how Sony does business across the world. So again, this is due to methods that Sony will employ to market games. Many people were fired, and even some employees from the US-based creative service team were let go the day the PS5 was announced. But what's really horrible and shameful for Sony is that employees were laid off with no notice and weren't even aware of the press release on PS5. They essentially just left the SIEE group of the company entirely out of the loop, and then these people were just hung out to dry. One explanation for this change is that because they catered to regional audiences, some products and games were pushed more heavily in Europe. For example, Drive Club and PlayStation Move, which were way more successful in that region, but apparently many third-party publishers also didn't really like this method of doing things. SIEE has a strong history at the company, and they've been a part of PlayStation since the original PS1 days, but many of these people weren't even made aware of PS5's announcement. One person close to the goings-on at SIEE, Andy Robinson, took to Twitter saying this: "A really disappointing story to break. I'm told morale at SIEE is through the floor as the latest in a year of layoffs hits. The feeling is that the US is running the show from now on. Those I spoke to expressed bewilderment that this is happening ahead of PS5. And that's true. You would expect them to be bolstering their numbers since they're coming out with a new console generation, but apparently that's not what they're doing." And he goes on to say, "This isn't new, it's been going on for a year, and I really hope PlayStation 5 doesn't lose the regional flavors that built the brand. But from the outside, it feels like that spirit is being dismantled." And it's totally true that the regional differences help to establish rich subcultures for Sony, and this was part of their huge success this console generation. There's no telling what the ramifications of these major changes will be, or how it will change the regional cultures of PS5 for better or for worse. It's really shady to do this the day that the PS5 was announced, and rubs me entirely the wrong way. It's like, yay, big things are happening at Sony, I'm a big Sony fan, and as a lifelong Sony gamer, it's truly exciting. But those big things make me less excited when I see that little people are being trampled in the process. I hope that this story gets a little bigger and maybe more news websites like Kotaku or someone like Polygon reports on it. They typically care more about the social justice type issues. I understand this is a corporation, of course, and this kind of thing is common, but that doesn't mean that it's ethical. Just because corporations lay people off all the time without giving them prior notice doesn't mean that that's okay. Putting all those people who have families and lives depending upon their employment and income, it's just not right, and especially with no prior warning. But unfortunately, companies don't care about you. Even if you help them to build a successful platform and brand, it doesn't guarantee that you'll always be useful to them. And as soon as you're no longer useful, your head is on the guillotine. If I was anyone working at Sony right now, I would definitely keep my options open and maybe even start looking for a new job just in case things go sideways. I know that the company has made some major changes and we never know what the next division of Sony is that's going to be hit by this. Let me know in a comment down below if you heard about this story or maybe this is the first time. This is kind of a short news update, but it's definitely something we wanted to touch on here at Higher Level Gaming because we always try to look out for the little people and the lowest common denominator. Hopefully these people are able to find new jobs, and maybe if you're involved with the games industry, you can help them do that. I guess it's up to the community to help these people since the corporation they've dedicated their lives to doesn't seem to care about them. This has been a video by Higher Level Gaming. If you enjoyed, you can subscribe and hit the bell to always find out when we post videos like this. Like this video or Sony will make you redundant and fire you. Don't forget to have a nice day and go play some video games.